was a drive way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow. Welcome to another broadcast of Bricks Behind the Ivy.
Hey, Cub fans, welcome to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. I am your host, Jeff Candid Cubs Rukowskis, and Bricks Behind the Ivy episodes are way more reliable than the Cubs bullpen. Yes, Bricks Behind the Ivy is a Cub podcast for Cub fans by Cub fans that is out every Friday, which is 100% of the time since we have started, which is significantly better than the Cubs save conversion rate. With that being said, let's slide right into our content. Let's talk the box score blitz, where we go over all the games that have happened since we last spoke, which was a week ago. So we've got one Rays game in there, and then the Cardinals and Giants series. So let's put some time on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go. Last game of the Rays series, Taj Bradley versus Justin Steele, and guess what? Justin Steele was good again. He had 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks, 13 whiffs. Taj Bradley was a little bit better, 7 innings pitched, 11 Ks with just 2 walks. The Cubs scored some runs on an error, Neon Gomes Bud, they get 2-0, but Lights Out came in and left the lights on. He gives up 3 runs. Poche and Fairbanks slam the door. Cubs lose this game 3-2, another 1-run loss, lose this series 2-1. But back to the friendly confines, the Cubs are welcoming rival Cardinals to town, and these games should be fun, right? Well, Redbirds come to town for game 1. Jordan Wicks versus Kyle Gibson, and right away, some heartbreak as Wicks returns to the rotation and has to leave to start early with an oblique issue. He's going to miss some time. Kyle Hendricks comes in to mop this one up, and he was pretty solid. 4.1 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 K, only 5 whiffs. Catcher Pedro Pages, which we are going to talk about a decent amount in this box score blitz. He hits a 2-run homer off Wisniewski to hits a solo home run off Wisniewski, take a 1-0 lead. Patrick Wisdom in the next inning hits a ball that would have been a home run 120% of the time if it wasn't for the freaking Wrigley win. 111 off the bat, 33 launching, 970 expected batting average, but is caught at the wall. Unbelievable. Cubs lose this one after they tack some runs on, 3-0. Game 2, premium TV time to pay extra because it's showtime. Shota Imanaga is pitching. Santa Claus in the house at Wrigley Field. Okay. Shota Imanaga versus Andre Plante. And guess what? Shota shoved again. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 6 Ks. Cubs fall behind early in this one, but reverse the trend of them not having shutdown innings and don't let the Cardinals have a shutdown innings. They score 2 in the bottom of the 4th. But stress mounts again as another 1-run game presents itself for the Cubs. But guess what? Ian Happ Daddy. They return to King in the bullpen, the Cardinals, to switch him to the right-handed side. And guess what? He hits a 3-run tater. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Santa, for coming. Cubs win this one 5-1. It is their first game of winning by more than 2 runs since May 17th. Yikes. Game 3, the rubber match. Jameson Taillon versus Miles Michaelis. And blast from the past for you Cub fans. Chip Carey was on the broadcast for Roku this week, so it was a little weird listening to him do play-by-play again with Jim DeShays. Cardinals strike first with guess who? Pedro Pages hits a 2-run home run, but the Cubs could not solve Michaelis. They did not run up his pitch count early, swung very aggressively as he was in the zone a lot. 6.1 innings pitched for him, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 Ks. James Taillon gave up that home run early, but was pretty solid the rest of the game. Cubs are 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position, lose 2-1. They lose this series to the Cardinals while only giving up 6 runs the whole weekend. Yikes. But time to turn the page. San Francisco comes to town. It's Javier Assad versus ex-Cardinals reliever turned starter Jordan Hicks. And the bats woke up a bit. Bush hits a 2-run home run in this one. They give the Cubs a 2-1 lead in the 6th. And shutdown innings don't exist for the Cubs. 2 pitches in. Elliot Ramirez hits a game-tying home run off Wisniewski. And then the Cubs walk in the go-ahead run via a hit-by pitch, and they go down 3-2. But a little bit of power surge. Seiya doubles in belly to tie the game. And that man again, Hap Daddy, 3-run bomb. It is 6-3. Patrick Bailey adds a run for the Giants in the 8th. Hector Neris comes in, 6-4 game. He gets a ground out from Conforto, but Soler reaches on a catcher interference, and then he walks Mike Yastrzemski to then give up a 3-run homer on the first pitch fastball to Tyro Estrada, their 8-hitter, not known for his power, known for his glove. Cubs lose this game 7-6, and not just a heartbreaking loss, but Tauchman was lifted in this game with a groin injury. He's going to miss a solid amount of time, 4 weeks of sitting while he rests. Mastrobuoni has been called up, much to the celebration of Cubs Twitter. Game 2 matchup of faces is Logan Webb versus Man of Steel Justin Steele, and Steele once again extremely solid. 6.2 innings pitched, only 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 8 Ks, 14 whiffs. The Cubs get runs early from Long Pants Dansby's 2-run dinger, and temporary Cub backup catcher at AAA Kirk Caselli punishes Justin Steele for some walks and gets a 2-run double to tie this game at 2. But Cubs play station to station in the bottom of the 8th. They get RBI singles from Cody Bellinger, Mr. Hap Daddy, and Christopher Morel to take a 5-2 lead. Keegan Thompson comes in, shuts the door, and leaves the ballpark to become a new dad. Congratulations, Keegan Thompson, on the save and the fatherhood. Cubs win this game 5-2. Game 3, Kyle Hendricks returns to rotation, but will Glass be back in session? Yes, summer school is here. Giants counter with a bullpen game. Kyle was excellent. 5.2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 8 Ks, 14 whiffs. High curveball usage in this one. Is that the key for his success? Giving them something else to think about? Was that something I said on Bricks Behind the Ivy Past? Yes, it was. It absolutely was. Hagberg and Swanson hit back-to-back home runs, the first back-to-back of the year in the 4th. Cubs had another 3 in the 7th with a Dansby clutch 2-out opposite field single, and then he scores on an error, but then things get scary. Lights out, still lights on. He walks a few batters, gets replaced by Tyson Miller. He hangs a slider that ex-Cub World Series champion Jorge Soler hits to the moon. It's a grand slam, makes this game 6-5. Corey Brewer comes in, walks 2 in the 9th, but the Cubs narrowly escape with a victory, giving their first series win since the Crosstown Cup. And that is the Box Score Blitz. So before we do the standings update, I want to say the standings update is brought to you by FlyTheDoubleU Etsy store. This is a sticker store of Cubs-related stickers that you can put on anything. You can put them on your Cubs cup. You can put them on a no free ad Stanley or Yeti. You can put it on your MacBook like a lot of folks do. I personally put Cubs stickers all over this Cubs locker I have that has all my Cubs jerseys here in the Candid Cub Cave, so that I'm always ready to throw a jersey on when it's game time. So check out FlyTheDoubleU. That's Fly the Double DOUBLE letter U on Instagram, and check out the link to his Etsy store in the description of this podcast. So the Brewers continue to lead the standings, and they are the only team in this division currently above 500, with the Cardinals sitting at second place, a game under at 36-37. The rest of the division is very, very tight and close to those numbers, with the Pirates taking care of business versus the Reds this week. The slide in the third at 36-38. The Cubs are 36-39 in fourth, and the Reds are in last at 35-39. So very jumbled. All these teams, all 4 of the teams in NL Central are either holding on to a wild card spot or within a game and a half of a wild card spot. And that is a common theme in the National League this year, as there are not many teams eliminated, which will be really interesting with trade deadlines coming up and trying to figure out who actually is a seller. So I wanted to talk about the glass half full approach for the 2024 Cubs. We've had a lot of frustrating losses. We know what this Cubs team is not. And that is they struggle in one-run games because they do not have legitimate weapons in the back end of the bullpen to shut games down. And there was a stretch in which the offense abandoned the Cubs, making a lot of close games and really highlighting some of the bullpen issues, as there was this need for very few runs being allowed to give up because the Cubs were not scoring runs. So what are the positives? What is the glass half full? What are the things the Cubs have going for them this year, and why we shouldn't necessarily shut the door on the 2024 season, regardless of the mounting frustration and this feeling of Groundhog's Day again, over and over again as they lose one-run games or have heartbreaking blown saves. And just before I give you the positives on the Cubs, I want to give you the positives on Cubs merch, and that is through Wrigleyville Sports, proud sponsor of Bricks Behind the Ivy. And we are approaching our 2-month anniversary together, so I am expecting Wrigleyville Sports to be sending me an anniversary present, because our relationship is like a high school relationship. You have to celebrate all the little milestones. But Wrigleyville Sports is the best Cubs merchandise store in Wrigleyville. They are family owned. They are right by the ballpark. You can go in there and get a custom Cubs jersey and have it ready in time for the game. Check them out today. There's a link in the description of this podcast and in the bio of this video if you're watching on YouTube. Go there, check out some merch, load up your cart, and before you check out, use the code BRICKS10 for 10% off your purchase. Yes, 10% off. Always great to save some money. Always great to get new Chicago sports merchandise, especially Cubs stuff. So check out Wrigleyville Sports today. And thank you, Wrigleyville Sports, for being part of the Bricks Behind the Ivy family. So the first positive I want to point out for this year is the wild card standings. They are pretty comical, as most of the NL seem to go after the approach of, if you can't be the Dodgers and load up with a ton of talent and have this great farm system, then we're going to attack the edges, the fringes, and see how the ball bounces. And the result is 4 teams in the NL with records above 500, 2 teams actually eliminated, and then that leaves 9 teams within a game and a half or holding on to a wild card spot in the National League. That's absolutely nuts. Just how close the National League race is going to be. There's a lot of things that do affect the Cubs in this manner, as if there are teams that feel they're in the striking distance, there isn't an obvious buy or sell situation for a lot of teams currently, which then is likely to increase the prices for some of these short-term acquisitions, or any acquisitions at all, given there are so few teams truly eliminated from the playoff picture. But the positive is the Cubs are only a game and a half back of a wild card spot. So they are not eliminated from a playoff spot yet, and they still have an opportunity to heat up and be right in the middle of the conversation and give some incentive to this front office to take a look at adding to this group. Another positive for the Cubs is my boy, my future husband, Mr. Michael Bay Bush. He's been a revelation for Jed and Co., as this was a really nice buy trade, getting rid of some of the farm depth to get a first baseman. He's got a 135 weighted runs created plus on the season, currently leading the Cubs, and he has really switched his approach at the plate of late, especially in June. He was struggling in May as the league adjusted to him. He's still a young guy that doesn't have a ton of major league at-bats under his belt. His strikeout rate ballooned as guys figured out how to get him out, and it seemed to be with a lot of elevated heat. But the good news is the walks have come back for Michael Bush, and so has the production. His walk rate in June has climbed back up to about 14.6, and the strikeout rate has gone down to 25%, which is a really solid baseball player. With that, some slugging has returned as well. His Baseball Savant page highlights a lot of just sweet spot and hard contact rate value for him, and his batting value and his defensive value continues to climb as he's starting to see some outs above average, and his positioning and defense at first base. So still 26 years old, really turning into a solid guy for the Cubs. This month, he's at a 186 weighted run created plus in June. So nice to see him really take a step up. Another thing that is nice to see is the bats in general. The Cubs offense, with guys like Michael Busch coming back to form, Ian Happ heating up, even without Cody Bellinger really looking like himself, Dansby Swanson starting to heat up, the offense has looked way better this month. As a group, they're only at 101 weighted run created plus in June, but we're starting to see some upticks from Michael Busch. We're seeing Ian Happ, as I stated. All these guys are way above 130 in weighted run created plus in June with additional slug. So if the offense can score, it can take some of the pressure off the pitching, hopefully reducing the need of the bullpen, especially in one-run games as the Cubs continue to look for solutions at closer. They're currently 8-9 in June, and one thing that I did think was interesting is the Cubs in June have one of the lowest ground ball percentages for pitchers, which kind of ties to the drop in ground ball rate for Justin Steele as he has gotten healthy, and then a lot of the guys in this rotation were ground ball pitchers before, which is interesting as the Cubs infield defense was constructed on the idea of additional sinker ball pitchers. And I feel like they had a reputation of being a ground ball staff, especially when they still had Marcus Stroman. So something to keep an eye on, see if they can address getting some additional ground ball ability at the trade deadline, especially for that bullpen. And the last positive is going to be Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga. Justin Steele, since last year, has been one of the best pitchers in baseball and at times has kind of fallen off the radar of some folks of being that. When he's been healthy, he's been excellent. In his last few starts, he's just been nails. He's been giving 6-7 inning efforts of lots of whiff, lots of strikeouts, and his pitch mix has changed, adding the changeup and evolving into a completely different pitcher instead of just the theoretical two-pitch pitcher he has been. So that is very promising to see. And then Shota Imanaga is possibly the funnest player in baseball at the moment. Mike Imanaga II and his coffee runs and his thoughts of being hungry after ball games instead of being concerned in a moment, his celebrations, his sense of humor, and just the numbers. The guy is ticketed to Arlington this summer. He's going to be an all-star. Just a great acquisition for the Cubs. He's been so good, and the Cubs have needed every bit of his production. So what's next? Well, the Cubs are welcoming the Mets to town, and they are in Feugo, and it's beyond just Grimace throwing out the first pitch for them. There's a lot more going on. They're 11-5 this month and have inserted themselves right back in this wild card race, which is interesting because this is a team that many Cub fans had circled as a team to make a deal with, especially looking at a guy like Pete Alonso, who's on an expiring contract and has Scott Boras as his agent, as someone that could kind of bolster this offense on a slugging perspective. But that's not going to happen now because they are in spitting distance of a wild card spot, and the Cubs are playing them in what is becoming a very important series because of that. They're competing for the same spots to make the playoffs. So they're going to be rolling out old friend Jose Quintana, and they got Trevor McGill and David Peterson, and the Cubs have Imanaga on Friday, so get your money ready because it's premium TV time. But after that, the Cubs haven't announced their starters for Saturday or Sunday at the time of this recording. Really, the turnaround for the Mets has been around their offense. Pete Alonso's got 4 bombs and 15 RBIs this month. JD Martinez is really heated up with a 170 plus, one weighted runs created plus, and Francisco Lindor as well. So those 3 guys kind of anchoring the middle of their lineup, plus some heaters from guys around them, including Mark Vientos at third base, just slugging up a storm, has really made that offense pretty potent, hence the 6+ over 500 record at this time. So this is really turning into a pretty big series. After that, the Cubs go out west to play a 4-game set with, guess who? The Giants. So we know what they're about. We know that their offense isn't necessarily explosive, and neither is ours. So I expect a bunch of close games and excited to get a bunch of games on the West Coast docket, as those games usually start after my kids go to sleep. I have one more segment this week as Pat Erickson met up with some friends at the firehouse out in Wrigleyville to talk about who's hot. Take it away, Pat.
Hey, how you doing? This is Johnny Muldoon, Truck 82. Listen, I wanted to give you my take this week on who's on fire over here at the 1060 West Addison. Look no further than our guy Ian Happ. I mean, this guy's batting average has gone up 14 points. He's got clutch hitting, coming up into big-time situations. Maybe this is finally his time to shine. He's coming up when we needed him the most. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know, the Connect Roasters is kicking in. Who knows? He's hotter than a 211 fire over there in, Wrigleyville. So, hats off to you, my friend. He's our fire guy on the week. He's in Feugo.
Well, this has been another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy, a Cub podcast for Cub fans by Cub fans. Please check us out on YouTube. If you have not, like and subscribe these videos. We're still working on getting to 100 subscribers, which will coincide with a giveaway to get not only Cub tickets, but a BBTI prize pack. Looking for BBTI merch? There's a link in the description for our merch store, which includes shirts, sweatshirts, cups, hats. Check it out today. There's a cool tank top that has been selling that says Brickhead Bleacher Bum, and it is great as it has been so hot to wear in the bleachers at a Cub game this summer. So check that out today before we sell out of them. Once again, this is Bricks Behind the Ivy, a Cub podcast for Cub fans by Cub fans. I am your host, Jeff Candid Cub Rogowskis, and until next week, go Cubs go.